Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here and for joining us here on the 5-day book planning event here at Carnelian Moon Publishing. I am Judith Richardson Schroeder, for those of you who don't know me, and I am one of the co-publishers and co-founders of Carnelian Moon Publishing. Now, I like to consider myself one of those old-fashioned mapping geniuses that there used to be. They were called cartologists. And so Debbie and I thought it would be fun to give ourselves names that really sort of envisioned the idea of magic and the idea of creation and of creativity. And so I decided that I would take on the moniker of Master Cartologist. And that means that I am someone who likes to map out the ideas that others have or that I have myself, and to really hone in on that vision and really decide what ideas do I want to keep, what ideas do I want to toss aside, and what ideas will I hold on to that I might use at another time. And so I like to map out the landscape that is going forward. And another reason that I chose to be a master cartologist is because I use a very unique technique that helps people to really get clear on where they want to go in their life. The idea of being able to determine what they want to do or have a solution for where they want to go is very important. And so I do something called mindscaping. And in mindscaping, we use the map idea where we lay a map out in front of us and we follow that map to wherever it's going to take us to help us to see what has been behind us in our life, in our past, and what is coming up for us in our future, and how we can change that landscape and really create the life that we desire to live. So that was why I decided that I would call myself a master cartologist and really get clear on the fact that I love helping others to map out their ideas, their creativity, and now especially their books. So let's get started. So this might be an image that you can relate to. You have a lot of ideas mulling around in your head. You know you want to write a book, but you don't know what idea to take and to hone and to create a book out of. And then you are sitting here and you have all of these books and these resources that you might be able to draw upon, but you're not quite sure where you should go or how you should get there. So we're going to explore in this episode the idea of your vision and try to help you map that out a little bit so that you have a little more clear understanding of where you want to go, who you want to reach, and how you want to do that. So writing is messy. It really is. It's disorganized. It's fraught with self-doubts and blank pages. But the moment that you're published, it's one of the greatest journeys you'll ever take. So this is one of my favorite ways to think about writing. I try to remember that writing is messy, that when I do my first draft, it's not going to be perfect. As a matter of fact, it might be just horrendous because I sit here and I just type anything that comes into my mind. So I decide that I'm one of these writers who I have a vision, I'm very visual, and I can take that vision and sit here and basically stare out my office windows and just write. And the vision is sort of showing up for me. Now, that I consider to be a gift that I have, is to be able to really visualize what it is that I want to share with other people. And I can usually write a book in a very quick amount of time, actually, because I've already played all of the scenarios out in my mind. I visualized everything, and then I write it all down. And then I have this roadmap that I'm able to use to help guide me along the path that I want my book to take. So what we're going to cover for you today, and it's going to be a very brief overview. So I'm not going to be going into a great deal of um, uh, depth, but we will be having these slides as a handout for you. There will be additional worksheets available for you, and we are both here to answer any questions that you might have. So if there's something that I am not quite clear on, or there's something you want me to expand upon, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to speak with you. So what we're going to cover here today is your why and your what, and the balance of inspiration and structure. And we're also going to look at the differences between writer and author, because there are some differences, and that will help you to decide, are you a writer or are you an author? And which would you prefer to be right now? And then we're going to look at the journey for your book. We're going to explore whether you want fiction or nonfiction, if you're interested in doing self-help or self-development, etc. And we're going to also touch on word count to help you to determine what your daily goal is going to be. Because when you chunk your daily goal down, when you take that word count of the book and you divide it into a number of days, your word count per day is a much easier target to achieve than looking at that huge amount of words that you want to put in your book. So we'll go over that a little bit as well. And then, what is your book solving? We'll touch on that, and I'll ask you some questions that I think will help you to really begin to get the wheels turning in regards to ideas and direction and who you want your book to serve. And then we're going to talk a bit about setting up your writing schedule and an area for your writing, which is extremely important. And then, of course, there will be the empowered action step that you're going to take, which includes a worksheet that will help you to walk through putting your vision in perspective and mapping out the areas of that vision that you want to concentrate on, so that you can begin to see what the path to your book is beginning to look like. So writing without a vision or a reason is like designing a home without a clear floor plan. So you really do want to have a vision of where you're going, where you want to take your reader, where you want to lead your reader to after they have your book, after they've read your book. So the balance of inspiration and structure. And I used this image because it is a balancing act. You want to be able to draw upon, especially if you're writing nonfiction, if you're writing in the self-development or the self-help area, you'll want to draw upon your life experiences and your lessons and challenges, as well as the solutions that you've come up with. Now, in today's session, I'm going to be more or less dealing with the nonfiction aspect of writing, so that we are not sort of clouding things over here. And if you want to know more about fiction, please let us know, and we will be more than happy to offer a workshop on fiction alone. So in your book, you want to draw upon your life experiences. You want to really hone in on those lessons that you learned, what the challenges were, how you overcame them, what the solutions were that you achieved, and how it changed your life. You can also then call on your past or your present employment or your career and the experiences that you've had there, as well as the learnings and the teachings, and you can impart this kind of knowledge to your readers. So depending upon where you want to take your reader to is going to be basing where you want to draw from for your own purpose. The experiences that you've had, you may want to draw from them, or the pitfalls that you experienced, you might want to draw from them. Or if you learned a lot of valuable lessons while you were employed, either through other people or through your own business, you might want to draw upon that. Now, some people work with vulnerability, for example, Brene Brown, and there is a lot of power in sort of revealing the vulnerabilities of yourself if you are drawing upon your own life experiences, because it is humanizing who you are. It isn't just taking your experiences and writing them down and then, telling somebody what to do in their own life. You want your reader to really resonate with you. And so part of that is having the vulnerability to really expose some things about your journey that were really tough, that might resonate very well with your reader. So when you're understanding your inspiration and your why, this allows you to really step into your book's journey more courageously. You're more open to reveal things that you know are going to help your reader to move forward in their life. So the foundation of your book structure is going to help you to deliver a powerful book and a powerful read to your audience. Now, another thing that I really call on a great deal is my inner guidance. So your inner guidance, also known as your intuition, it already knows everything there is to know about the book that you want to set out to the world. You only need to sit and listen. And so that's why meditation, visualization, and quiet time are so important to the author. You want to bring yourself into yourself and really begin to listen to that inner guide, because that inner guide, that inner voice, it has a lot to share with you in regards to guidance and in moving you forward. So your why, and I like to go through these steps before I begin writing, because I want to be sure that I know, do I want a book that is fiction? Do I want a nonfiction book? Which am I stronger in? Can I draw more from my nonfiction? Can I draw more from my own life, my own experiences? So a lot of people want to write self-help books. Someone might have created a new way of doing something and they want to share that with others. So how will your book impart wisdom and lessons and experiences that your reader can relate to? So if you have a wide array of experience and knowledge, and you've done a lot of soul searching or a lot of transformation in your own life, you may very well have a great deal of information that you can already draw on. And you don't need to go outside of yourself to really delve into what it is that you want to share. So, how is your story going to draw your reader in? And why should they read your book? This is very important, because if you are not sure how you are going to relate to your reader, if you aren't sure what they're going to get from your book, then it's going to be very difficult to really know what direction you want that book to go in. So, you really want to sit with this question for a while and think of it as a legacy. You have a book that is sitting on a shelf somewhere, and it has an answer for someone. What is that answer? Who is that person that you want to read that book? Now, we're going to be going into your ideal reader a lot more in depth tomorrow. So I just want you to sort of think about that for now. So how will you, or can your story embrace the way that readers take in information? Now, again, this is another powerful way to connect with your reader, is by using words and descriptions that will evoke the reader's method of taking information in. So you have three different ways that we do that. You have the visual learner, you have the auditory learner, and you have the kinesthetic learner. So I'm very visual, so I take in a lot of what I want to understand when I'm reading a book through diagrams, through the way that the words have been written. If there is a lot of description in the words that has to do with I see, or I look, or I envision, then I am drawn into that book in a much more powerful way than if somebody were to say, I heard, or I, I listen for. So the auditory in me isn't quite as strong. Then we have the kinesthetic. Now, these are individuals who take information in through their senses, through feelings. So you want to use words that evoke levels of feeling. So I touched on that idea. I felt that this was the direction to go. So you're creating a bond, a level of information sharing between your readers, and you're touching on each of the ways that people bring in information in their life. So you are going to have a much more powerful connection with your reader. So if you sprinkle the words in regards to visual, auditory, and kinesthetic throughout your book, you are then touching and involving those readers that take in information in those particular ways. So in writing your book, there is a purpose for you to expand your brand of bravery into the world. This is you taking that step to say, I'm ready to share what I have within me with those who are ready to receive it. So not everyone is going to be ready for your book. Not everyone is going to resonate with your book or with the topic of it, but that's okay, because when you are able to demonstrate what you desire to teach or share, you're going to attract those readers who are going to be most drawn to you. And something that I've learned it's a saying that I learned very early on in my metaphysical teachings. And it is, for all that you know nothing if you cannot demonstrate a better life. And that's from Dr. Paul Leon Masters. And it is so true. And I have found that the more I can demonstrate what I'm doing in my life, the more easefully my readers and others that I connect with can see how my way of thinking, my way of acting, my way of working is actually creating change in my life. And so when you are demonstrating things in your life, then you are showing to the world and to your readers that what you are doing is working. And they are then interested in finding out more about what it is, excuse me, that you want to share with them. So the journey to your book, as I said, remember I said the journey is messy. It is very messy. And over here, I picked this image because one of the good ways to actually brainstorm and get your ideas out there is to actually use sticky notes. So you basically, just using sticky notes, you're writing your topic, your idea, whatever comes to your mind on a sticky note. So you use one sticky note per one idea. And then you can just stick that on a wall, stick it on your desk, wherever you want to stick it. And this is a fantastic way to really brainstorm, to get out those ideas that you want to share in your book without there being any judgment or any expectations of perfectionism, if you will. So the first thing that you should ask yourself is, where are you going to take your reader, and why are you going to take them there? There has to be a reason that your reader wants to pick up that book. If your reader isn't going to want to pick that book up, nothing that you say is going to change their mind if you don't know where you want them to go. So you want to be clear, and you want to have a really good idea of where it is your reader is going to go with you and why you're going to take them there. So you'll be spending some time in your worksheet after the session to really sit with that and to decide where you're taking your reader, because that's an important part of beginning the visioning journey towards your book. Now, another tool that I use a fair amount is free flow journaling. I also use mind mapping and the brainstorming that I just mentioned with you with the sticky notes. So mind mapping is one of my favorite tools because it helps me to really put one concise idea in a mind map bubble, and I can expand on that idea. And I can do it as many times as I need to drill down to the ideas that I really want to get to the meat of the matter, to the heart of the matter. Free flow journaling works in the very same way, except it's a little bit messier, because what you're doing is you're sitting there and you're thinking about just one word, and then you're expanding on that word. So for example, if you wanted to, you have one of your ideas is that you want to teach people how to visualize. And so you would put the word visualize at the top of your journal page, and then you would just write whatever comes to your mind in regards to visualizing. And you could do this in point form. You could do it in sentence form. I find that it's easier in point form though, and do it in sentence form if you wish, but just write everything that comes to mind. This is your brainstorming period that doesn't have to be neat. It doesn't have to be aesthetically or aesthetically pleasing. This is just for your eyes only. This is helping you to get what's in here onto the paper or onto your sticky note. So using these tools, and I will give you a handout as well that's going to go over all of these bits of information that I'm sharing with you. So you will have resources that you'll be able to draw upon to go to help you with all of these areas of your visioning. So you want to coax out your book's purpose and vision. That's the idea around free flow journaling, mind mapping, and sticky note brainstorming. So you want to build the foundation through the introspection, emotion, idea expansion, and sitting in silence for your book. This is important because your foundation is the important basis for writing your book. This is going to help you to really hone in on what it is you want to share with your reader. Another way that you can actually bring up ideas if you are having difficulty with them is to write to yourself, and again, free flow journaling if you wish, or mind mapping, or even the sticky note brainstorming as well, to write down what you wish you had known at certain ages in your life. So for when you were a teen, what would you have wished to have known then? In your 20s, your 30s, beyond. And this can actually be very powerful in helping you to call in those ideas that maybe you have sort of not really had as tangible just yet. You know you want to go in a certain direction, but you're not quite sure what that direction is. This exercise can help you to really hone in on what it is that you want your book's message to share with your reader. And also, I definitely believe that it is important and imperative to take time to daydream and imagine about what your book is going to do for the world, what your book is going to do for one reader, where you want your book to take your reader. Just daydream about that. Imagine the ideal book that you've written and just allow yourself to go on that journey to pay attention to where you would like it to go. And so when you get these daydreams and these imaginations, you can write them down. Always have a notebook with you if at all possible, and write the ideas down. Because what's going to end up happening as you are writing, as you're doing free flow journaling, as you're mind mapping, as you're daydreaming and imagining, you are starting to see patterns in your ideas. And as you are writing them down and then going over your notes and your sticky notes, you can then see what patterns are showing up quite frequently. And that is going to help you to have a bit more direction for your book. If you are a little unclear as to what that direction is that you want, this is an excellent way to do this, to do the daydreaming exercise, the imagination, and to also the free flow journaling, to write everything down so that you can see those patterns that are starting to emerge. So I wanted to touch a bit on the writer versus the author. Now, writers write to impart their knowledge and their interests and their experiences and their imagination, especially if they're doing fiction. And the writer also often writes for the love of writing first, and then so that they can impart that wisdom to others second. And then third usually comes in making an income from their writing. A writer will often work in word counts of about 10,000 words or less. Not very often will a writer who is writing blog posts or content creation or newsletters, etc., not very often will they go over 10,000 words, although some will. But um, authors like to explore in word counts that are anywhere from 80,000 words to 120,000 words and beyond. Writers, they like to stay at a smaller word count because they get to put their ideas out there more quickly, more frequently, whereas an author works at this one idea or this group of ideas, and they work at it for a period of time before they actually move on to another book. So there's a difference there between writer and author as well. So writers often work within various arenas, such as being a freelancer, a blogger. They write a lot of articles or content contributions, whereas authors often work from book to book project, while some of the authors might contribute to previous areas that I mentioned, but and oftentimes most authors usually dedicate themselves to writing their books because they're such large word counts, and they want to ensure that they are getting their ideas out there and doing so succinctly enough. Now, the author also wants to impart knowledge and interest and experience and imagination, but they often write first to create and build a legacy, as well as income, to build a career, and then they decide, and then they want to impart information, and then, of course, do what they love, which is, of course, writing. So the writer writes and then the writer rests. That means that, for example, when I was a freelancer, I would do articles of 10,000 words or less, usually, 5,000 words, 1,000 words. And I would do a bulk of these freelance articles, and then I'd be able to sit and relax and rest. Whereas the author, they write and write and write. And then rather than sitting and resting, they market, they do book signings, they do tours, they do speaking engagements. So there's a level of difference in how a writer is walking through their chosen career, as well as what the author does in their chosen career. So the question is, are you a writer or are you an author? Who do you see yourself most as? Do you see yourself most as an author who is writing a number of books and getting them out there and really being able to share your ideas? Or are you a writer who would like to get your ideas out there and you would like to get as many of your ideas out there as possible? So that's a little bit to think about as well. So the vision explored, here we go on writing from within to deliver a powerful book. So here's some questions that you can actually ask yourself. Are you going to write about something that you're passionate about? What do you love to do? What would you like to teach or to share with others? And another thing is writing what you're familiar with. So there is an easeful way to write a book when you write about something that you know a great deal about. So what do you know that you're really comfortable sharing and that you would like to impart to others that doesn't really require a lot of research initially? And then writing what you want to learn about. This is a unique way to do things where you're going to be learning as you are writing and sharing what you're learning. Now, for some authors, this is a little bit intimidating because you want to be sure that what you're sharing is accurate and truthful and factful. But at the same time, you are learning as you are moving along. And if you feel comfortable in doing this style of writing, then absolutely absolutely. I recommend it because you are learning as you go along. This is actually how I did freelance writing. I researched everything that I wrote, and I got topics that I had never heard of before. And as I learned about them, I was able to really give a good idea of what I was learning and sharing that learning with others. Write what you can demonstrate in your own life. So, if, for example, you already practice a technique or a process, or you do something in a unique way that allows you to really transform your life, or that fulfills you, or gives you a lot of calm or peace or contentment, this can be very effective in sharing with your audience, especially if you want to guide them towards creating a transformation of their own. So, if you're comfortable to speak about this and you can demonstrate it in your own life, that makes it all the more powerful. The vision explored, the long game. A lot of writers don't really look at the long term game of things, whereas an author normally will. An author wants to look at things such as, are you seeking to educate? Do you want to impart knowledge, or do you want to impart experiences or evaluations of something? So, what do you want to do? What do you want to deliver to your reader? Do you envision growing a community from your readership? For example, when I wrote my book, my vision was to uh, share with my readers what it was I was doing to transform my life. And I was taking them through a group of exercises, and it was more or less an experiment that they would be doing. And I have a mobile app community where people can join that community, and they can then extend their knowledge, their learning, their experiences, and their opportunity to share with other community members. So this was a vision I already had set out in my mind to do. Do you envision your book leading to speaking engagements? A lot of authors do this. A lot of authors are sought after as speakers because they are so passionate or so knowledgeable about what it is that they've written about. Is your idea something that you've wanted to share for a long time? If it is, sometimes it might be really difficult, or you may feel that it's difficult to get your ideas on paper. And that's where all of the free flow journaling, the mind mapping, the sticky notes, that's where that exercise comes in really handy, is getting the ideas out of here that have been in here for so long and getting them out onto paper, so that you can actually do something with them and put them into a form that's going to fit well with your book. So, is your idea already out there, but you know that your idea is a new slant on a familiar topic? Write about it. Everyone wants to learn new ways of doing things. And if you have a new slant on a familiar idea, then your book can help others to find out what that new idea is and explore it for themselves. So you have a lot of ideas within you. You just need to be sure that you're getting them from here and out in front of you so that you can evaluate them to the best possible level. Now, tapping into your inner visionary. This is where I would love for you to spend some time conversing with your inner wisdom. That means sitting in meditation, visualization, or quiet reflection, and doing this on a daily basis, because the more that we do this, the more that we sit and listen to our inner knowing, the more we get clear on what it is we want to write about, how we want to write it, and who we want to write it for. Journaling your ideas and your visions and your knowings. This is called free flow writing, and this is so important. It is so freeing, and it is really a way that you can freely empty your mind and openly, without judgment or expectations or evaluations, create those ideas that you want to include in your book. Pay attention to what your ideas and your visions and your knowings invoke emotionally within you. And when you're going through your readings, when you are going over the notes that you've made, or the mind mappings that you've done, see what emotions show up for you, and star those emotions and write that emotion down. So, for example, if you have an idea about sharing a period of time in your life when you were very vulnerable, and an emotion such as um, hesitancy wakes up, or fear, or wanting to hide, or something like that, just use an asterisk and write down the emotion that shows up for you in that particular area. And as you're going through your writings, you can actually evaluate what emotions are being called up. And then you can utilize those in your writing to really connect further with your readers by evoking those same emotions within your reader so that they become connected to you much more quickly. When fear shows up, and it shows up in so many different ways. It shows up as procrastination. It shows up as avoidance. It shows up as monkey mind chatter. When those things show up, pay attention to that, because that means that you are stretching yourself outside your comfort zone, and your unconscious doesn't like it. Your unconscious doesn't like unknowns. It doesn't like when it doesn't know what the next step is going to be. So when you are getting those fears or those doubts, or you are feeling as though you're frozen, that you just don't know what your next step is, pay attention to that, because that is your unconscious trying to protect you, trying to tell you, oh, you don't want to do that because, somebody might have an opinion, somebody might criticize you, whatever it might be. And know that this is your opportunity to assure your unconscious mind that you're just experimenting. You're just writing down ideas right now. So, what you're doing is you're gradually training your unconscious to sort of sit back and just take a seat while you explore, while you experiment with the ideas that you are thinking about. And as you continue to do this, as you continue to explore, and your unconscious is sitting there and you've sort of quieted that monkey mind or those limiting beliefs, you can then continue to try on these different ideas. And as you're doing that, you're making progress with your writing, you're making progress towards what you want your book to say. And your unconscious is sitting back more and more and chattering less and less to you. And it works really very well. So inviting your inner visionary. So I always like to have a place where I can go. I call it my writing sanctuary, where I can go and I've got my diffuser, I have my essential blends, I have music, a playlist that I use, and I have my surroundings set up to be very indicative of being able to sit down, relax, and write. So I really highly recommend that you have a place like this for yourself, even if it's a small corner of a room. Just make sure that that room is very quiet, that there isn't a lot of traffic flowing in and out of it, that it isn't a place where your children play, that type of thing. Free flow journaling, again, this is extremely important, and it's something that you should do every day. And usually when I sit down to write, I will do a free flow exercise. I will pick a word and I will just free flow write from it, just to help loosen the creativity and get that writing beginning to flow for me. And then once I've done that for, maybe 5 or 10 minutes at the most, I then can move right easily into my writing. And as I said, with choosing writer's essential oils, I'll have a handout that indicates the blends that are great for getting past things like procrastination, being tired, or those blends that help best with focus and concentration. Preparing a writer's playlist of your music that is going to induce and invoke creativity, ease of words flowing from you. So you want something that is very subtle, very gentle, very relaxing, just sort of playing in the background so that you have it there to sort of mask any outside noises that there might be, but it's helping you to also really focus. So how I usually use my playlist is I sit at my desk. I have 4 windows in front of me that are in my home office, and I will put my playlist on, and then I'll just stare out one of my windows and I'll just write. I'll just let the words come to me, and I allow the music to invoke certain feelings or certain ideas, and it makes my writing so much more easy flowing. So you might want to try that. Now, at the beginning of every session, I usually do a meditation or a visualization. So I'm going to be including one of these for you as well. And to do this, to sit down, to get in that mindset of being a writer, to be in that calm space, and to allow the creativity and the words to flow, just to help you to go inside of you a little bit more and bring that out more effectively. Now, you also want to determine what a comfortable word count is for you. So for most authors, if they're doing, say, an ebook, 20,000 words is a very good word count. That is about 70 pages. So that works out to a really nice size and easy read for an ebook. So taking that as an example, if you were to determine how many days you want to write your book over. So would it be 30, 60, 90? I've taken the example as 90 days. So you take those 20,000 words and you divide them by 90 days. And yes, you're going to write every single day, weekends included. You want to begin to create that muscle of writing, that habit, so that when you aren't doing it, you actually begin to miss it. So if you're doing your word count, you're writing over, say, 90 days, you would divide the 90 days into the 20,000 words, which is 222 words per day that you would have to write in order to reach your goal in 90 days of 20,000 words. That doesn't sound like a lot, does it? So what you would do is with each of the word counts that you are interested in. So for example, if your book is going to be about 80,000 words, that would mean that you would divide 80,000 into however many days you want to write. So if you want to get your book out there in 90 days or in 180 days, you would divide your number of words by those number of days, and that would give you your daily word count. Now, I entered a NaNoWriMo challenge a few years ago, and the premise of this was to write a fiction story in 30 days of 50,000 words. And so my word count was 1,667 words per day. And what I ended up finding out is that as I moved forward every day writing, I began to sort of challenge myself. If one day I wrote 1,667 words, the next day I would try to write more words. I didn't put a set number on it, but I wanted to be, even if it was one word more, I wanted to best my best day. So this is something that you can do as well, is to sort of challenge yourself, to entice yourself, to motivate yourself forward. Another thing that I found really effective was posting my word count for the day on social media, letting everybody know that I was writing something, letting them know that I wanted them to hold me accountable. And so every day I would post in Facebook saying, I did this many words today. And so it also made me want to do my best word count every single day. And it also helped me to write every single day as well, even when I didn't feel like doing it. Now, speaking of that, in your worksheet, we're going to go through an exercise that is going to help you to create a list of ways that you can stimmy off things like procrastination or the lack of desire to write or limiting beliefs or that monkey chatter that sometimes goes on in our heads. And you're going to write a list of actions that you can take to overcome those possibilities, because every writer knows, every author knows that there are going to be those days that you just don't feel like writing. You're looking at your typewriter or your laptop or your computer or your paper and pen, and you just don't want to write. But you want to be able to stop that before it begins. So in your worksheet, you're going to be able to create a list of ways that you can overcome these kind of things. So overcoming procrastination, for example, doing the accountability by posting on Facebook, posting on a social media account, the word count that you've done for the day. This is a way to help keep you motivated and accountable to others. Determine your goal for writing your book, and then write your vision statement. So you want to figure out, what is it? Why do you want to write your book? And whatever that goal is, sort of brainstorm with this idea. Brainstorm with why you want to write your book. What is your goal? What do you want your reader to receive from it? What do you want to receive from it? And then write your vision statement around all of that information. And then make that vision statement about 2 or 3 sentences only. It doesn't have to be anything long or complicated, but do a little bit of brainstorming or a little free flow journaling and come up with a really great, really powerful motivator in your vision statement that's going to help to keep you fueled and fed to go forward. And then when you've finished that, you can create it into a picture that you could put onto your computer, or that you could use as a background on your phone. You could print it off and put it in a card and that you carry around in your wallet. Put it on your vision board so that you see it every single day. Put it near your bed so that every morning when you wake up, you see it there. So there's so many different things that you can do to really motivate yourself and move yourself forward. So we're at the end of our session today, but thank you so much for being here. I will be giving you the links to the handouts and everything that I mentioned within the session today. I'll also bundle up the presentation, and I will also include that as a download as well. So tomorrow, Debbie's going to be here sharing your steps to creating that ideal reader. How do you go about figuring out who your ideal reader is? So until then, thank you again so much for being here, for sharing this time with me. I know that you have a busy schedule, and I am honored that you have chosen to spend some time here with me today. So thank you so much. I will see you all again very soon. Until then, have a fantastic day. And if you have any questions, or if there's anything we can help you with, please feel free to leave a comment below this video, and we will get back to you on whatever it is you might want to know. So until then, take care. I'm Judith Richardson Schroeder. Thank you so much for being with me today. Bye for now.